Several years ago, I was teaching a graduate level capstone course in personal financial planning, and during one of the class sessions, we engaged in a client planner role play. One graduate student played the role of the financial planning professional, while the other one was the client. The student in the role of the planning professional had been tasked with creating a cash management and a retirement income plan. During the break, I pulled aside the student who was playing the client and said, when you go into the back of the meeting, I'd like you to tell the planner that you received a phone call from some of your college friends and they'd like you to go on a trip to Europe with you. You want to do that and you expect it will cost $30,000. After receiving the information, the student in the role of the planner paused, looked the other student in the eye and said, "You can't do that. It will blow up your plan." Well, let's fast forward a couple semesters when an experienced planning professional kindly agreed to participate in one of my classes. I offered the same scenario to her and asked how would she respond. Without blinking an eye, she said, "You can do that, but are you prepared to delay your retirement for 3 years?" Exactly. You can do whatever you want with your money. It's your money, but there are consequences. That's what cash management is all about. Hi, I'm Harry Storn, and welcome to this Storn Standard Practical Knowledge video. Cash management is the process of proactively taking control of your cash inflows and outflows and making informed money decisions that will help you reach your prioritized goals and objectives. You are in control. Where the money comes from, where it goes, and how you manage your cash equivalent assets like bank accounts. Three common cash management goals are: one, to generate systematic cash flow surpluses; two, balance current spending with savings for future consumption; and three, maintaining adequate liquidity for emergencies. During this video, we'll explore practical aspects of achieving those three goals. The discussion will cover personal income and expenses from that high perspective, like 30,000 foot level. The difference between a want and a need. The three money buckets necessary for healthy cash flows over your lifetime. The uses and sources of emergency funds and supportive cash management mindsets. Okay, let's get started by examining goal one, generating systematic cash surpluses. When I think about improving cash flow surplus, starting from that 30,000 foot level, then it's pretty simple. You could either increase the cash inflows or decrease the cash outflows. Of course, it'd be optimal to sort of do both of those in combination. But let me pause for a second and share a wonderful insight that I once heard from another planning professional. You can only cut your expenses so far, but your income is potentially unlimited. Limited versus unlimited. Scarcity versus abundance. Do you see how that supportive mindset would change everything? You could certainly eliminate some of your spending. However, the greatest impact for generating surplus comes from increasing your cash inflows. Typical sources of cash inflow include employer wages, salary, and commissions; portfolio income, including dividends, interest, capital gains; self-employment income or income from a side gig; rental income from an investment property; Social Security benefits or proceeds from a reverse mortgage, just to mention a few. Creating multiple income streams is a pathway leading to financial stability. Personal expenses fall into four categories: fixed expenses, variable fixed expenses, taxes, and discretionary expenses. Fixed expenses remain constant over the year. Examples include rent, insurance premiums, payments on a fixed rate mortgage or a fixed rate auto loan, federal student loan payments, tuition fees, property taxes. Variable fixed expenses are costs that you incur during the year, but the exact amount might vary depending on actions you take and circumstances. Examples include food, utility bills, medical and dental bills, clothing expenditures, personal care items, and transportation. There are various taxes, including FICA, payroll withholdings, which fund Social Security benefits and Medicare Part A, federal and state income taxes, property taxes, and sales excise taxes. While those three expense categories can't be completely avoided, discretionary expenses are completely under your control. You can decide whether to spend your money or not. Examples of discretionary expenses include vacations, entertainment, restaurants, a capital expenditure such as buying a new car, a home remodel, purchasing jewelry, giving gifts and donations. But here's an interesting twist. What one person considers to be discretionary may vary from what another person deems discretionary. This takes us to an important concept of a need versus a want. Generally, a need refers to a necessary living expense, such as you need to eat for survival, you need to have a place to live. In contrast, a want refers to a non-essential expense, but one that certainly improves the quality of your life. You like to drive a new car and prefer to eat several meals out each week at a restaurant. Individual differences in personal values and beliefs, cultural upbringing, and income level can move the line between what is a need and what is a want. For example, my father considered tithing as a fixed expense rather than discretionary. It didn't matter what his take-home pay was, 10% of that went to the church without discussion. One of my mentor's clients considered gifting over $100,000 a year to each of their healthy adult children a need, not a discretionary gift. Many individuals consider remittance, sending money back overseas, an indisputable need and family obligation. Where's the line between a need and a want for you? Only you can make that decision. Goal 2 focuses on balancing today's spending, immediate consumption, with saving for tomorrow's need, future benefit. Developing a healthy savings habit is critical for financial well-being and security. I recall attending a workshop during the 2014 Financial Planning Association's annual conference, and the workshop was entitled Cash Flow, where your clients experience their money. During the session, the presenters talked between balancing cash contributions to the three money buckets: the fixed payment bucket, the living and discretionary spending budget, and the savings dollars bucket. They shared that this discussion was conducted with every one of the firm's clients, and the discussions were always valuable. Their message to the client was that by placing money into each of these buckets, the client creates healthy cash flows for today and for tomorrow. Note that it's important that your saving contributions are planned, rather than just part of whatever happens to be left over at the end of the year. I'll address this in more detail in a subsequent video on creating your spending and savings plan. Goal 3 emphasizes the need for adequate liquidity. Liquidity is a concept that addresses how quickly an asset or financial security can be converted into cash, without cost or with only minimal cost, and without significant loss in value. We need to have sufficient liquidity to pay for necessary living expenses, given the situation where cash inflows are temporarily disrupted, to fund emergencies and to cover unanticipated expenses. Typical sources of emergency funds include checking and savings accounts, money market deposit accounts, certificates of deposit, U.S. Treasury bills, and money market mutual funds. Additional sources might be the cash value of life insurance and a home equity line of credit or a bank line of credit. Notice that stocks and real estate are not typically considered a viable source for emergency funds because you don't want to be selling those at a time that there's a major market drawdown. And there are meaningful costs and time delays in selling real estate. While emergency funds provide needed liquidity, it's important to realize that the interest rate you earn on liquid assets is quite low. That infers balancing the right amount of emergency fund assets. Typically, we think of about somewhere 3 to 6 months of necessary living expenses and the right amount of liquid assets. For example, you might maintain enough in your bank accounts to cover a couple months of living expenses with a bank or home equity line of credit if you need to draw it for more funds. In this video, you learned about the sources of income and expenses, the difference between a need and a want, cash flow surpluses, the 3 money buckets that help create healthy cash flows for today and tomorrow, emergency funds, and the supportive mindsets of proactively managing your money and focusing on abundance. Your understanding about these cash management techniques will help you take control of your cash flows and make informed money decisions. Thank you for watching this practical knowledge video. I invite you to view other cash management recordings. If you found the content valuable, then please click the like button and consider subscribing to the Storm Standard channel. Have a good day and see you in a future video.